Okay, Viola, it's all yours.
Okay. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. We are so very glad that you are here. We hope that you and yours are healthy and safe. Welcome to the second edition of the Virtual Sandbox event, a concept that was created by my good friends over at the African Fintech Summit, led by Leyland Rice and his team, and a collaboration with Ovamba. My name is Viola Llewellyn, and I'm the president and co-founder of Ovamba Solutions, Inc. We are a trade tech solution for African SMEs. We create innovations for the banks that wish to serve them by providing alternative trade finance as a way of driving financial inclusion, accelerating the velocity of capital in our continent, and ensuring that customers have the ability to create generational wealth from buying and selling the goods that they need in order to grow. This morning, we have a very special event for you. InsurTech and RegTech. Now, I'm going to assume that the individuals who are listening in today already know what insurance is. So we're not going to bore the pants off you by trying to explain a very simple concept. But as you may have noticed in the last 10 years, especially on the African continent, an explosion of technologies created to address not just the gaps in the industry, but also to address the needs of customers who wish to maximize their lives and need the tools to do that, both personally and in business. We're going to be talking about InsurTech and RegTech, and at the center of the sandbox is Amanleek, that was led by Mohab Abueta. I'm not going to steal the thunder from his story, but what I need you to understand is that this is a market that has been growing and has come up into the general population after fintech, after peer-to-peer, but it's one of the oldest forms of business management stability, and sometimes not very well understood. Amanleek is an Egyptian InsurTech startup. They simplify insurance. They make it more accessible and make it hassle-free for customers in the Middle East. And frankly, that's all that technology is supposed to do. Become accessible, available, affordable if you can, and understood, needed, and highly recommended. Mohab, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us your story, a bit about your background, why you did this, and what the goal is, with a special focus on the regulators and the stakeholders that you have encountered as you've been innovating. But before we get to that, I have our esteemed stakeholders to introduce to you, starting with Islam Dawish of Global VC, Dr. Farid Mohammed, Kakashi Africa, and Samuel Amanor of Blue Space Africa, who I'm so glad that you stepped in at the last minute. So Mohab, let's backtrack, let stakeholders introduce themselves, get those done, then you tell your story, and we will start to create a wonderful, engaged discussion. There are some quick housekeeping rules. We are recording this. There will be questions at the end. Please use the chat. If you're not speaking, please stay on mute. No question is stupid. We're here to learn and we're here to share. So starting with you, Islam, some quick 2-minute introductions, and then Mohab, you will be center stage. Is that okay with everybody? Brilliant. Islam, welcome.
Thank you, Viola, and thanks for having me today. So my name is Islam Darwish. I'm a partner at Global Ventures. I look after the fintech segment across the Middle East and Africa, which means I look after the portfolio companies that we have. We have currently almost 11 companies out of 26 companies in our portfolio. I'm also a CEO and founder for a company called Just Innovate, where we support InsurTech and financial and fintechs, as well as financial institutions, to undergo the journey of digital transformation and product development, as well as venture building. We also specialize in the area of customer experience. In a previous life, I was the global head of product development and innovation at MasterCard, based in New York. And you asked for something that is not about what what we do for a living. So in a different life, I'm also a health coach. So yeah, I enjoy doing that. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so good to have you. Thank you. Farid, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Viola, for having me, and thanks for the esteemed members today. So yeah, my name is Farid, and I live in Japan currently, and I work as a lecturer at the Rikswaken University here in Japan. Also, I'm the CEO of Kekihashi Africa, which is the largest business network between Japan and Africa. We have a large association of nearly 1,000 members who are working very hard to transfer the knowledge between Japan and Africa in different type of fields. We host innovation events. We help founders getting in touch with companies, and we do a lot of interesting things that I'm willing to share with you later. It's a very nice opportunity for me to be here today to chat with you about Amanleek and about the innovation in the fintech and the insurtech in Africa. Thank you very much for today. Please.
Thank you. And something about you that's not specifically related to today's conversation?
Well, okay, maybe I really love cars. Like I'm a motorhead, if that's what you're asking.
That is very interesting. I confess I'm the world's biggest Batman and Prince fan, so.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you so much. Samuel, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I took this call last minute, but I'm very honored to be part of this presentation. And Ovamba, Viola, thank you again for making sure I join. I'm CEO founder for Blue Space Africa. As the name suggests, we're creating the first ever financial cloud infrastructure to support service providers, both the insurance companies, the banks, credit unions, and fintechs, basically with software tools, as well as creating business models to assist them to go to market faster. And we also, I currently also sit as a co-founder for what we call Ghana Innovation Hub, and also a member of the Africa FinTech Network. And then lastly, I sit on the Ghana Tech Labs, where a lot of the startups are creating new ideas and leading it to acceleration. So that's what I do at the moment. I love playing tennis. I spend most of my time on the beach. So I live very close to the beach here in Accra. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. You're living the life I want when I grow up, finally. And Mohab, into the hot seat, sit in the sand, tell us everything.
Thank you, Viola, and the great team of panelists. Well, my name is Mohab. I'm currently the CEO of Amanleek. Actually, for the past 5 years, me and my co-founders were working as insurance brokers in Egypt. So during those years, we witnessed firsthand the inconvenience of buying and using insurance. I'd spend around 10 days helping my clients fill in endless amounts of papers and documents to either enroll in the insurance or to get a claim back if they are already a member. It seemed like technology was non-existent at the moment in the industry. So actually, like the main problem with insurance is the distribution and lack of accessibility, the product structure, and the claims management. And that's why we created Amanleek. So Amanleek is an insurtech startup that aims to digitize. We actually aim to simplify the purchase and the management of insurance through digitization. We want to make it more accessible to everyone and offer a hassle-free experience for all insurance seekers in Egypt. I can't hear you.
I was going to say, can you tell us what kind of insurance is your product designed to sell and distribute?
Yeah, so right now we're focused on the motor insurance and the medical insurance. And this quarter, we actually, so like one of our co-founders has a market research background. So that's all we did in the early days. We collected data from our clients and we did extensive research on the product structure. So we found out that most of the products that already exist in the individual medical insurance area are not suitable either from a price point or from the benefits itself. So we tailored a product. It was one of the top insurers in Egypt. We got the approval from the regulator, and we, as Amanleek, got the technical approval to sell it online when Corona started, and it's launching. We've finished all the regulatory approvals. It's going to be launched this month on our website.
So at this moment in time, you're still going through the approval process with the regulator. Are there any other digital providers of insurance products in your market? What was the competition and the landscape like when you started?
So when we started, there was just one regional player that was coming from the UAE, and they sort of paved the way for us. So they've had already done this in the Gulf. So they paved the way for us. But the thing about getting regulation or getting approvals from the regulator in the insurance field in Egypt, it's not just one license or it's not just one approval that you get. Every step along the way, it has to be blessed by the FRA or the regulator. So like if I am doing a contract with one insurance company, the insurance company is obliged to give the contract or a copy of the contract to the FRA to approve before we can initiate the partnership.
Got it. So at the beginning, how did you raise capital for your idea and how did you approach writing your business plan?
So coming from the market itself, we were traditional brokers. So we kind of underestimated the capital required to enter in this field. We bootstrapped for a good year, and then we gave up and we just applied for one of the accelerators, and we got a good enough runway to start and get things going.
I see. And are you able to disclose how you went about raising capital? Did you have a friends and family round? How much did you raise? And being in InsurTech, and I understand from being in the fintech space, certain regulated industries require minimum amount of capital. Did you face that and how did you deal with it?
So we were quite smart about this, I think. We found so we operate on I'm giving away some trade secrets, but we operate on an individual policy, actually my policy. So we were not obliged to put the minimum capital for a brokerage. So in the law here in Egypt gives the same, pretty much the same rights for the individual broker as for the brokerage, but it gives the minimum capital requirement for the brokerage only. Like I said, we were bootstrapping and we didn't want to put all the capital in the license. But right now we're actually moving forward into getting a brokerage license or some sort of a Fintech license, something that would have us be a company, not just an individual.
Okay. There are a few things that I know about the insurance market that I want to ask the stakeholders to engage with you on. Samuel, in particular, as it relates to the innovation journey, emerging markets, SMEs, can you maybe, if you've got questions of Mohab to ask about how he started that, I'd like to hear what you would want to understand from, I know that Ghana and Egypt are very separate from each other, but you also have been in a space that was very data oriented with some of the distribution challenges in a market that is still nascent. Do you see any similarities between what Mohab has explained and what you've been through with Blue Space?
Sure. Mohab, I think you've done fantastic because being a broker, you understand the customers' sentiments and their challenges. From where we sit, we typically help service providers when they have a license. We have something for license to launch. So once you have a license, there's a journey you go through to launch your product and then co-create services with the service providers. So as in the insurance companies, they have products. They every day and then they're innovating, they're creating products. But then the limitation becomes distribution. How do you get the product to the hands of because digital products are invisible, right? So how do you then take that product and then distribute it to the person in the last mile? Typically, you have agents facilitating that, or you have brokers facilitating that. In the area of InsurTech, that's typically the distribution channels, mediums they've used. And like he said, there's quite a bit of manual interventions for those intermediaries to carry those services. So we have to fill the information, KYC capture, and if those informations are not also validated, you cannot discharge that service to the, the customer. What we're seeing in Ghana, particularly, and in Nigeria, is the same traction. We're seeing insurance cutting across pretty much every industry. Auto insurance is unique in terms of the policy structure. Personal life accident insurance is different. You have your property insurance, also very different policy and the demands. And then the most complicated one is the life insurance, very, very different as well. Now, all brokers have some specializations, and then the distribution of those products also sort of vary, right? So for Mohab, one of the key things that will apply to his business will be to reduce the cost of his infrastructure, the cost of integration into the insurance provider's core application systems. These capabilities, once reduced, will allow him to go to market faster, cheaper, and much accelerated. So that's typically the way things work within the insurance ecosystem. The regulator basically also wants to know what kind of premiums are being paid, what mediums these premiums are going through, and if the insurance pricing is adhering to the Insurance Commission's regulatory framework. So in Ghana, for example, the auto policy has a fixed price for third-party insurance for auto. But when you get into the comprehensive, it's a bit different. It varies from insurance to insurance company. So distribution, it's a big challenge. It's across the whole continent and also globally. In the US, for example, you have companies like Lemonade. They raise quite a bit of money. They're not a publicly traded company. So we don't have such capabilities on the continent yet, because obviously we live in a very fragmented ecosystem. But I think what Mohab is doing is it's a forerunner. At Blue Space, where we have a platform called Blue Shield, which we're also using to advise, to allow insurance companies either enhance their channels or the broker networks and the agency networks and the like. And if Mohab wants to, let's say, host his infrastructure, obviously he can go to Amazon or Azure or any of these cloud providers. However, if the regulator does not allow financial services providers to host in the cloud, he would have to build a data center or work with a company that has data centers in Egypt. Right? This is also one of the impediments for rolling out some of these products to market. So these are the things we're bringing to the continent. And in co-creating with him, we could be able to reduce some of these headaches for him.
Samuel, that is a huge bucket load, and I love it. It raises a lot of questions for me, but let me ask Islam to respond to some of those points. As a VC looking at companies like Mohab's, there are so many moving pieces at the MVP stage and in such a regulated industry. How do you approach understanding or getting a sense of comfort around a company like Amanleek starting in a market? What do you look for as those markers for success when integrating and innovating for this particular space? Samuel gave a beautiful landscape. I would like to hear your responses to Mohab on some of the things that he has said.
Sure, thank you, and great job, Mohab. I went through your website and I've just seen the customer experience, etc. I think you have a great starting point. So one of the things that caught my attention is what you said about product structure, okay? And that is very interesting. I mean, there is a lot of parallels between the world of fintech and insurtech, and that's probably why in some cases you find insurtech labeled under the umbrella of fintech. And one of these parallels is that the old structure or the traditional structure is not necessarily fit for purpose when it comes to the idea of inclusion, right? That's why banks reached a certain level of stagnation, right? They're not able to penetrate on average in our region beyond the top 15%, right? Insurance is the same, if not less, right? So the question is the product structure that is currently there in fit to scale, okay, and to penetrate? Because one of the things, I mean, Sam mentioned the example of Lemonade, right? Lemonade became what became Lemonade because the consumer demand was there. People know that they need insurance. We don't have that, right? We have to go one step further to tell people you actually need it and why it matters. Not overcoming only the financial barriers, but also traditional barriers and behavioral barriers, including religious barriers, for example, right? Because insurance in Egypt, as I'm sure you're aware, insurance sometimes is seen as a taboo space because you're trying to kind of counter God, if you like, counter fate in a way, which is an interesting concept. Anyway, so the point here is, you know, is the product designed? You know, this industry has been built on the back of, you know, build it and they will come, making people want things, right? And I think the future and where players like yourself come in is making things that people actually want, right? And the industry hasn't been doing itself a favor by looking at the world in verticals, right? Or whether it's becoming healthcare or car insurance or property insurance, etc. Okay, because consumers are not designed that way, right? They're designed. You have to look at the life cycle of an individual, right? Not the verticals in a life cycle. And I think just designing around that and making sure that you are delivering on specific needs at the right time, at the right place. Okay, and I think you know, one way of tackling this huge opportunity, which is it's really massive in Egypt and definitely in the rest of the region, is to digitize an already a traditional space, okay, which is what a lot of insurtechs are currently doing. And another way is to kind of reinvent it and customize solutions that are relevant for a specific use case. And that's why we're seeing the emergence of concepts that I'm very excited about, like parametric insurance, for example, right? Which kind of takes very specific areas and creates a way of a small or a cheaper entry point into the world of insurance for customers to adapt and understand why insurance for them is important. As an investor, and we are invested in InsurTech, what I would love to see is how you can take the vertical approach into a more horizontal and a platform approach, right? In fintech, we have seen the concept of embedded finance, where you don't go out and bring insurance to the people, you embed insurance into everyday life, right? So within health tech, within prop tech, or within even e-commerce, right? So providing your service at the right place at the right time. One of the most brilliant executions that I've seen in recent history is buy now, pay later, right? So BNPL. The reason buy now, pay later has emerged to become what it is today, okay, and the fast scalability that is currently replacing credit cards, okay, is because you are coming at the point of checkout, the point of the person is making a decision to make a purchase, and you are making the product or the service available right there with instant decision making. And I think insurance can benefit a lot from that lesson, right? Yeah. So again, we're really excited about InsurTech as a space, but we're really looking at who can help sort of drive the penetration among consumers, which frankly takes us back to the ultimate sort of, or the elephant in the room, which is the regulator that you mentioned, right? Is if there is enough customer demand, right, and people really, there is significant uptake, the regulator will adjust, right? We've seen this in the fintech space, both on the FRA side as well as the central bank. It is happening, and we are seeing a lot of momentum thanks to COVID-19. Well, there's a lot of negative sides to that, but there is a positive side when it comes to tech. So I think interesting time.
I love what ACM just said about embedded insurance, because we're seeing that across the value chain in Ghana as well. So for example, device acquisition, if you're buying a cell phone or you're traveling and you want to get travel insurance, or the farmer who's cultivating some particular crop and they want to employ insurance based on whether the inputs they're getting from the government or a supplier who's giving them some input, right? So embedded insurance is actually a good concept that's actually happening now. And I think it could be scaled into the auto side. For example, you're at the auto shop, you're buying a car as part of the car acquisition, you just apply for insurance and get the cover you need. So that's a brilliant point. Now, from service providers who are working, they don't have the time and energy to build a new service. They just want co-creation. I mean, we live in the world of APIs now, and the advent of APIs will allow us to co-create together with the service providers. And I think in Egypt, that capability could be applied as well.
Samuel, thank you for that thought. I need to ask Fareed to respond to something in particular. Mohab, in the innovation journey, we keep hearing the words digital transformation. But if I think in your case, you did come from the traditional manual side of insurance. But as you're threading your way to innovation, I would love to get Fareed's ideas, or even a conversation between the two of you about what digital transformation actually really means if you're innovating from the start and you haven't, let's say, transitioned from being AXA to saying, hey, we were AXA, now we're a digital version of AXA. So maybe behind the scenes, Fareed, there's a lot that goes on with that digital innovation. I'd love to hear between the two of you what is actually involved in doing that correctly. Fareed, we can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Fareed?
No.
I think Fareed, you're
No,
muted.
and he's not on mute, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. Fareed, do you have something going on with
about now?
Yes, we can hear you now. I'm so sorry. Please do begin again.
Not sure what happened, but yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So also thanks, Mr. Islam, for the insights about the parametric insurance and many others. I would like also to follow on that. So regarding the digital transformation, I think also I have seen Mohab's presentation for the AC Venture Lab on YouTube. I'm a keen follower for the AC Venture Lab, and it was a very, very interesting one. And I can relate to a lot of the experiences that he shared. He shared a lot of experiences like people don't know actually at the time of the accident or at the time of the disaster or whatever, what they should do and so on. And he also mentioned a lot of things regarding having an after service, and this is in particular something very, very interesting concept of having this as a part of the digital transformation. So digital transformation is basically taking traditional industry and make it sound more digital and have a digital interface that allows the transfer of the information from the client to the company and so on. So managing the whole process online and managing the whole process in a digital way. And as we mentioned before, that this industry is highly regulated, but at the same time, I can see this as an opportunity as well. So having a highly regulated industry, that means that you have some sort of barrier to entry to the industry. From Mohab's side, he has an aggregated platform for all the industry players, such as the insurance companies. I understand that he is trying to grow one by one and have more insurance companies joining to the platform, but this is very interesting. So from a side of, let's say, working with Japanese companies who are interested to enter to the African market, sometimes it's kind of very difficult for them to enter the market through the normal challenge because as you know, the regulation and so on. And having a company like Amanleek that already has access to the market, has access to all the industry players, that means that the Japanese company or whatever foreign company who would like to enter to Egypt or somewhere in Africa, they don't have to follow the normal process. They can just go to the aggregator, and the aggregator can allow them to have access to this huge market. Something else that also I wanted to highlight regarding the experience itself. So the way I see also Amanleek as a digital transformation, the digital transformation allowed not just the ease of the sharing the information and so on, but allows also the customer to have a voice. So right now we have an example for that, for instance, like Booking.com. The way I see Amanleek right now is another example of like Booking.com, where Amanleek has a lot of connection with the insurance companies and aggregator. And now the customer will just go to Amanleek, and Amanleek will help you to select your best insurance. At the same time, Amanleek will follow up in case if you have any problem like this. So like Booking.com, sometimes I just go to Booking.com trusting that in case of any problem with the hotel, the Booking.com will solve it for me. So if Amanleek reaches to this stage where the customer believes in Amanleek as a person or as an entity that can back the customer in case of a problem happened, I think this is a very, very sweet spot. And I think this is also another example for the digital transformation, because again, it allowed the customers to have a voice. And right now, by aggregating all of those voices, I think Amanleek can provide very good platform for the customers to challenge the status quo of having problem with the insurance industry. Yeah. So yeah, sorry if it was a bit long, but yeah.
No, that's fine. Mohab, please, I'd love to get your response.
Yeah, so like if we're talking about digital transformation in an industry that is still using papers and like they're still using the actuarial tables of the old times, like I think there are massive opportunities in every step along the way in the insurance cycle to transform. So like sometimes when the opportunity is too big, like you just want to focus on the distribution first, and then you move to the claims management and the customer service. But the opportunity is massive. It's in every step. So like we started as an aggregator, and of course we faced a lot of setbacks and a lot of resistance from the insurance companies. So they don't want to show their transparency is not something that they would want. So like some companies have unique selling points, but are not just the price. So and they kind of take it for granted that the client is going to pick the cheapest price. So we're trying to educate the market and the insurance companies as well about the aggregator model is basically, we didn't invent it, it's everywhere, and this is the future, and this is how clients are well educated now. Clients don't just buy from like impulsive buying. People search and look up stuff, especially if it's insurance. It's a year plan, it's an annual plan. It's something that is not cheap. Yeah, so like as I said, we see the opportunity in the aggregator model, but we also see the opportunity in the underwriting aspect. So yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. There are some points here that I think would be really important for creating some context. When you started the idea and the concept, who in particular did you actually have to engage, and how easy was it to clear those hurdles?
Definitely, like having an aggregator, like we were insurance brokers, so we know the demand and what people need. And the idea of the embedded insurance that Mr. Islam talked about, and Samuel and Dr. Farid as well, it's there in Egypt right now in the complementary insurance, the motor insurance. So like whenever I buy a car and I take a loan from the bank would require me to have insurance. So it's there, and this is a key product that we sell right now because it's kind of mandatory. So we approached several insurance companies, and I think we were rejected by all of them because they don't wanna put their prices on like across on the same platform as everyone else. Yes, and some others would say like, what's the ranking of my like? How do you rank it? I say it's an algorithm. I don't personally know the rank. It's depending on the answers that the client would put. So we faced those issues. We cleared these issues with many of them. And we're in the process, like if you go through the journey right now, we took off the logos of the companies until we sort out the agreements and yeah.
So on top of all of that, you're in Egypt. I know as Ovamba being a trade tech innovator, one of the things that accidentally became our greatest market differentiator was the fact that we were one of the first Sharia compliant fintech solution providers. How does the Islamic rules around insurance affect your ability to scale and grow? Is that something you have to have special consideration for?
Well, definitely. And like I always advise my sales team, we never go into this debate with the client. So like to each his own, we have these Sharia compliant products for anyone that wants to buy them. And we have the other products for anyone else. But like, to be honest, most of the resistance and most of the issue of religion is tied to the life insurance, which we do not sell at the moment. Yes.
Got it. Islam, funding companies like Mohabs. I don't know about InsurTech, but I do know as a fintech solution provider, showing up to the discussion with an MVP frequently means that you've had a good idea that you want to be trusted with. But what usually happens after year 2, 3, 5, and 7, the MVP, the market acceptance, the product fit shifts so dramatically that it's really important to have the trust to know that things are going to change. As an investor, when you see products like this in our types of markets, what sort of pivots are you expecting Amanleek to successfully navigate before they get to that point where they're truly scaling?
That's a very important question, and one of the things we look at definitely when we evaluate businesses and definitely founders, right, is we as they say, the only constant is change, right? Or change is the only constant. So the reality is we're in a very dynamic region, and we're in a very and you operate in a very dynamic industry, whether fintech in general or InsurTech within that. How that will look like in 10 years is anybody's guess. Nobody can tell you that. But one of the things that is really important is that you are built to pivot, right? So that means a number of things. Your team and their capabilities and skills, right? Number one, and how lean your operation is. Number two is your technology, right? And this is a very important factor because and it's always the struggle that a lot of founders face when it comes to making decisions, what to build and what to buy, right?
Yes.
And now technology access has become so democratized. There's so many offerings out there that we even go as far as recommending that it's almost like become an 80-20 rule, right? So there's so much stuff out there that you can outsource and keep your 20%, which provides you your differentiation, not the other way around, which is something historically you would expect, that everything is built internally, because again, naturally things will change, technology will change, customer requirements will change. And if you're relying on your own tech team to build everything, it will cost you so much time, cost you so much money, and will take you so much time. And by the time you adapt and deliver and scale, the opportunity is kind of gone. Too much competition would have already been in the market, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's a really important thing. The second thing is, specifically now for the pivoting towards the opportunity side of things. So I think you are tackling the market as it is structured today, and that is fine. And I think aggregation has its merits. However, in order to remove the friction from the system, that is the question that we ask ourselves as investors, right, in the space. And what I would encourage you, and I'm sure you do that, ask yourself, right? What can I bring to the table whereby the upper hand is not with the insurance company, right? Because effectively you are saying, I'm aggregating, I'm just giving you a pipeline. I'm becoming your pipeline of new customers for existing products that you offer, okay? So you always get into this debate of, oh, I'm offering that, I can do that. I'm gonna digitize my journey and I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, right? And there is merit in that argument. So the question is, and this is where I really see the future of InsurTech in our part of the world, is how you're in a position where you are seeing a much wider spectrum of the offerings in the market. You have first-hand understanding of the customers. Now, how do you, back to the concept, the idea of customer-centric design, deliver these products that provide a new kind of pipeline or flow or deal flow, if you like, to those insurance companies? And case in point, if you look at alternative lending and how it's been growing around the world, right? The debate happened in the beginning between, okay, the fintechs and the banks. Okay, we lend people, and that debate started happening exactly like it was in InsurTech, until the fintechs figured out, hey, I'm gonna give you access to customers that you and money flows that you have never seen before, and you are not built to access, right? And this is where the role of InsurTech can be a big play, right? And just to, in a couple of seconds, just to bring it to life. So imagine the COVID-19 crisis, okay? Two elements, consumer side and business side. So the amount of small businesses that went under, okay, during this time is unreal, okay? Now, these businesses had some kind of insurance, okay? And I'm sure a lot of them will be looking at now, these are businesses, all these SMEs, these insurance companies have no access to. So if you design a product that can deliver these pipeline to these insurance companies, you are on top of the game. You are leading the conversation, right? On the same thing on the consumer side. Again, the COVID-19 example. If you want me to enter into the insurance world, which I'm not used to as a consumer, if you give me an opportunity, hey, I know now it's like I have 6 months that I'm really, things are kind of out of control and the exposure levels are so high. If I can get a 6 months cover just for me and my family, for a small ticket size, I would take that. Now, do insurance companies have such products? No. If you aggregate and deliver that to their doorstep, you'll be a hero. Again, just food for thought. I hope that's helpful.
We've got some great questions in the chat, but before we get to the chat, I want to just pull out very, very quickly, so we've still got time. Mohab, first question, does what Islam, what he's saying, does that ring true for you? And how much of that plays into what your growth strategy is going to be?
Yeah, definitely. So like at Amanleek, we always think about the defensibility, our defensibility against the different stakeholders. And one defensibility that we have is our reach. So around 30% or over is of our sales are outside of Cairo. And historically, like the insurance penetration is, most of it is in Cairo. Cairo and Alexandria, for example. So this is one way insurance companies would think about Amanleek and for the reach. Like I said, again, the underwriting aspect is very important. So we focus on the motor insurance and the medical insurance. Insurance companies call them the loss makers. So if we are trying to build our own underwriting and our own AI that would detect the abusers from the fraud cases, etc. So it would help the insurance partners that we have give the right service to the people that deserve it, and detect the abusers from the beginning of the year.
Samuel, for you, and then we're going to come to you, Fareed. Samuel, I want you to give some comments, and Mohab, please do respond. Collaboration versus competition within the African context. We now have the African Continental Free Trade Agreement has been ratified. We're now poised to be the largest trade zone in the world. And Samuel has been doing some great work with his team as it relates to cloud and storage. Sam, can you give some ideas and maybe even a quick glimpse of what you think the future will look like for companies like Amanleek collaborating and even competing in other markets where we usually think of Africa as Northern Africa, MENA, Sub-Saharan Africa. And it was recently in the news that there isn't barely enough data on Africans, either from a life expectancy, genetically speaking, or other data to explain who we are. I've often talked about using technology to understand the African genome for success, for business and all of these other things. So Sam, just some ideas that you think Mohab can take on board as he's building out this successful company with some of these ideas around data and collaboration and competition.
Okay, thank you very much. About maybe 7 years ago or 8 years ago, I basically started helping the banks and the financial service providers working with Dell and EMC. I had to transition that to the fintech startups ecosystem, and I realized the major cost to serve in these mature financial infrastructures is infrastructure. It's actually the data center cost. Having access to good service, having access to good storage infrastructure, having access to reliable internet. Obviously, Amazon, the cloud, Google, Azure, and all these international providers have democratized the cost. However, because we deal in regulatory environments, it's very difficult for you to just up and post everything you're doing in the cloud in certain African countries. So the idea of Blue Space Financial Cloud is that we become the aggregator for the global cloud providers in different parts of Africa, as well as the key software tools that the InsurTech and the Fintechs rely on to deliver services. In some instances, we co-create these platforms with the innovators, right? Because you really need speed to market, and you also don't want to add too much to your cost in delivering your service. So that's what's happening. And with the free trade agreement, what's going to happen is the banks now have to rationalize payment systems. They have to rationalize insurance and bank insurance, for example. They have to rationalize lending. You know, how do you actually lend or issue trade bonds like LCs and what have you, BGs for consumers and beneficiaries. So those things all come up, and at the base of all these financial services is your data, right? Who is the custodian? Who is the steward of your data? And this is what we want to help create a subset within the financial sector within the Africa context. Because the regulators, the central banks and insurance commissions want to know where the data actually sits when it comes to governance.
Mohab, any response to that before we turn to Farid? I have a very specific question for you as it relates to what Amanleek is doing.
Yeah, so most of the conversation while doing partnerships, whether with the regulator or the insurance partners, is all about data. There are different mandates and we try to comply, but actually compliance takes most of the time, like someone said, and especially when working with multinational insurance companies like we are right now. So we're working on something with one multinational insurance company, and they actually have a lot of requirements for data security. Having online payments, having the what do you do with the client's data, and because we operate on cloud, we do not have an actual server.
Thank you for that. Farid, I'm remembering something that Islam said a little bit further back in the conversation, and it really is around the idea that, at least I know as we pitch, innovation often outpaces the regulators' understanding and the policymakers' response to how these innovations will affect the market. Farid, if you could share with Mohab some look ahead advice, or even what you see will happen in the market as helping regulators to keep up to pace with innovation and its policy impact. How do you see that playing out, and what recommendations do you have?
Sure, thank you very much. So this is a very good question actually, and I wanted to speak about this point. Sorry. So regarding the regulation, of course, the regulation is always very tough to change everywhere in the world. Even in Japan, it takes a lot of years in order to change the regulation, especially if it has something to do with the data and privacy and transfer of information and so on. But as Mr. Islam mentioned here, that if we have enough power in terms of consumer voice who are demanding for something, I think this regulation can be changed. But I would like to add to that also that if we have a clear vision of how this, like what's in it for the country as a whole. So for instance, I have read a statistics from the FBI in the US, and they mentioned that approximately per year, the country lose approximately 40 billion US dollar out of insurance fraud, just insurance fraud alone, 40 billion US dollar. And of course, the American market is super huge compared to any African market or the Egyptian market to be particular, to be exact, I mean. But you can calculate that and simulate it and see how this can actually affect the Egyptian market. This is one thing. Something else that also, if with the insurance company, if you can work with the insurance company to calculate in case if we raise the awareness of the insurance and why the people don't buy insurance, because in most of the countries in Africa, you have the optional insurance in the area of the penetration rate in the area of 1 to 3% in this area, the optional one, not the mandatory one. I'm speaking about the optional one where a person go and pay money just like optional to have an insurance. So why people don't buy that? People don't buy that because it's complicated and they don't understand it and they don't understand how it works. And simply the insurance company just dumped the customer with tons of paperwork that the customer is supposed to read. And yeah, it's a very, very hectic experience. So if you can work with the insurance companies to calculate if we raise the awareness and make it very, very simple as you do, make it very easy for the customer to take the decision, how this can increase the insurance purchase behavior, or how it can change the purchase behavior of the customers in Egypt. Also, at the same time, by changing this customer, how much money can we make out of that in terms of sales tax or in terms of anything else? How much money can we save in terms of healthcare and many other things? So how much money can we save, for instance, in cost of accidents in the roads? Like a lot of things like this, it can be calculated in order to be presented to a specific committee or something to show them that we can help you saving as much as this per year if you help us digitalizing this opportunity and doing this. So I think this needs to be calculated, and I think it needs to be some sort of collaboration between you and several players in the insurance industry. And I'm sure once we present this type of opportunity for the government, I think this can have a good impact.
I'm going to start addressing some of the really great questions that have come along here, but I'm going to paraphrase them just a little bit and throw it out to anybody who wants to answer. So Sharif Nassim has been very active here, and he's asking questions around addressing price and affordability of medical insurance and the premiums and the claims and all the rest of it. But I'm going to throw a slightly awkward spin onto this. The outside world looks at Africans and they think that we're all in dire need of a lot of NGO help and charity. And the idea of insurance is often sat within the province of something that rich and wealthy people have and is a very meaningful part of wealth management. What do you guys think about what Sharif is saying here about pricing around insurance? How do we articulate to your average SME that insurance is an important part of wealth management? And how do we address it from, I don't know if you would consider your solution as an African solution, but pricing for groups of individuals who are considered to be poor, yet we're trying to build wealth, and insurance is a very important tool in doing that. How do we address pricing? What is considered fair? What are the tools for this? Anybody?
I would like to venture, again, sorry, Mark, you're the expert, of course, on here, so I'll just venture something and I'll leave it to you. So here's the thing, we go back to product design and structure, okay? the way things are structured now are just, the business model is not built in a way that is scalable, right? So, and therefore the pricing structures that follow are just not simply affordable for the future or the penetration beyond the 3%, as Dr. Farid was mentioning, right? So, and I think there is a slightly different lens to look at this whole opportunity. And I'm going to say something a little bit controversial here. Nobody really cares about fintech. Nobody cares about InsurTech.
I care.
Right? Well, you know what? Yeah, we care because we love what we do. That's fine. But I'm going to tell you, the world doesn't. But everybody cares about the economy. Okay. So the question is, how can you play a role as an enabler? Okay. Because once you solve that formula, okay, a lot of the blocks will fall in place. Because with scale, price comes down, okay? And I think the real problem is not, the question is not about the price. The question is, how do you scale enough in order to democratize access? And here, when I talk about the economy, I'm gonna go back to the previous example I was mentioning. Let's say you're targeting SMEs, okay? When you target this SME segment, now as a lender or a financial institution, and financial inclusion in Egypt is a big agenda, right? And banks have been active with Al-Mubadara and a few other initiatives from the central bank, etc., to enable lending to small businesses. Now, given the current climate, your role, okay, in order to enable the credit decision making in financial institutions and non-banking financial institutions, can be pivotal to give a little bit of comfort to this credit risk decision making by providing the right insurance tools. Now, so suddenly you're not just providing another insurance product, you are actually playing a role in the economy, okay, to enable lending, right? To enable businesses to scale, to enable access to working capital, et cetera, to farmers, so on and so forth. So again, now with that kind of value proposition, I think you will see a very different kind of price tiers for different kinds of offering. Now, when it comes to health insurance, again, I don't have any specific action in mind now to say, okay, how can you democratize access to that? But if I were to put myself in, what's the government trying to achieve, okay, in terms of universal healthcare for all, and what kind of role players like yourself can do in that, I'm sure there's a formula somewhere there that can make it work. Yeah, so leave it to the expert. Mohab.
Thank you, Islam. Well, actually, building on what you said, so like we've seen very good numbers for microfinance here in Egypt, and as a result of this, the product of micro insurance was born, and it was developed to a certain point where it's actually bundled together with the microfinance in the rural areas, and we've seen very great initiatives from the government pushing the micro insurance. So it's
exploding with changes in regulation, both in the banking and the fintech, and the microfinances are being given more carte blanche to do a lot. Is that really the case across all of these types of product services offerings, Mohab?
Yeah, when we're talking about micro finance, yes, for sure, definitely micro insurance, yeah, because these are tools for financial inclusion, as Islam said, and it's very affordable. The micro insurance, to be honest, it's very affordable, and the insurance company know that in rural Egypt, if one of the village didn't get a claim back for whatever reason, they're not going to sell any other policy. So they're very, I want to say that they're very flexible with claiming in the micro insurance field, because it's all about word of mouth. So yeah, I think Egypt is on track when it comes to micro insurance. So of course the penetration is not up to the standard, but it's gonna come there or go there in the near future.
Samuel, I think, has a conflict and has to jump off, so we want to thank him for being with us. Samuel, do you have any last words before you depart to your next activity?
I just want to say that I'm very honored to have been part of this meeting. So thank you so much, and I'll be in touch.
We're very grateful for your participation. Thank you, Sam. Have a great day.
Cheers.
So
I just want to, sorry, I just want to jump with one comment. I think, Mohab, there is an opportunity. Now, given the momentum that's happening on the fintech side, especially on the regulators, the reason I mentioned this example was there is an opportunity for you to jump on the bandwagon, right? And join that, so don't take the fight on your own to try and influence the regulation. There's already a momentum happening on the fintech side. I think jump on it and be the enabler for the fintech or the financial inclusion movement. I think that can really make a big difference. Again, just a thought.
Awesome. Fareed?
Yep. Yeah, thank you for the nice discussion. And yes, I totally agree with that. I think we have the financial inclusion agenda and Egypt 2030 and a lot of those initiatives going on now. And I think also something else that, as you mentioned, the African market is quite unique. And a lot of people in the fintech industry, they mentioned that the African market is an unbanked market and many people don't have bank accounts, many people don't have credit cards and so on. But at the same time, also this is a very good opportunity to grow because since that the people don't have bank accounts and so on, I think this is a very good opportunity and very open space to enter with the new product and with the new technology and reshape the market. We don't have to follow the same process of having the people underpaying them, moving them to this and this. We can just jump into the stage 2, which is the fintech technology. And we do have very growing penetration for the smartphone usage all across Africa. So yeah, the market is huge and wish you the best.
The market is huge, but Mohab, are there any women who are leading InsurTech companies? Does anybody know? Because this has been quite a male-oriented panel, but I know that diversity is so very important. Are women playing a role in innovating InsurTech solutions, guys? No?
Well, in Egypt, there aren't so many InsurTech startups to begin with.
It's true, because I actually made numerous phone calls before this because I saw the lineup and I called a few of the women that I know in the fintech space. I have no idea, couldn't find one. Very
but let me
interesting.
tell you that the regulator has a lot of women, and the insurance companies, they have a lot of women leadership. Not like the Western world, of course, and not something that that is up to the like it's not like it's a male-oriented field and it's a male-led field, but there are some very influential women in the insurance space in Egypt. Yes, definitely.
Super. So we are going to be wrapping up this conversation, but before leaving, I would like to ask the rest of the stakeholders a few words about what the future of InsurTech and Amanleek's success looks like from where you're standing. And we'll allow Mohab to make final comments and then I will close this out. If that's okay? So either Fareed or Islam, feel free to provide your closing comments.
Please go ahead.
Okay, well, thanks. Again, I think you're in a super exciting space. I think, like I said, I think the aggregation entry point is fine. It's got its scale. It comes with a lot of challenges. So the question is, how do you create this parallel world, right, where you are delivering unique sort of value propositions that are tailored to market needs and to consumer needs with different use cases. We mentioned the idea of embedded insurance, right, as a strategy, and being the company that brings new kinds of customers, not only geographic, but also in terms of profiles and in terms of use cases, right, cutting across small and medium-sized enterprises or individuals, right? Aligning yourself to the strategic agenda from an economic level, right? which will help you really break the barriers when it comes to the regulatory support that you need, right? So again, we mentioned the SMEs, but again, supporting farming in Egypt or agriculture in Egypt is a big part of the agenda, right? Crop insurance and all these products, nobody does that, right? But so you stepping into these sort of untapped white spaces, if you like, still partnering at the back end with the traditional large insurance, I think will give you such a unique sort of space to own. And frankly, again, it gives you a value proposition that is transferable and crosses borders, right? Because if you aggregate only moving from one country to another, you will find a lot of other aggregators, and because they've been in the market longer and have deeper relationships, it will be very hard for you to cross borders, right? But with such value propositions going across Africa or going across to Asia, I think you have a huge opportunity to scale from that perspective. And as an investor, that's something definitely we would love to see a company like Amanleek sort of lead the way for. But yeah, exciting times ahead.
Fareed?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. So yeah, regarding Amanleek and the prospects, I think if we can, the purchasing the insurance is not really a happy experience, right? So if I go to purchase an insurance policy, it's not a happy experience at all. And if we are focused to make this product as a customer-centric product where it transforms this unhappy experience to a happy one, or at least a powerful one, that the customer can go through it and purchase the insurance and also have this inclusion into it, providing several options, providing transparency, which is the key, providing something that as a user, it would be easy for me to understand. I think if we can check all of those boxes, I think we can get more customers more quickly. And at the same time, as we mentioned before, as an aggregator, being an aggregator, it means that you will become the voice of the customer. So this is a very good power, but at the same time, it would be great if you can balance it somehow between the customers and the companies to become a fair company that utilize this power for good, right? So having this high number of customers and having this integration with the insurance companies and so on, this is something very good. And also sharing the thoughts here that I really would love to see Amanleek leading this way of InsurTech and providing a very good example for the companies in Africa to follow the same path. So yeah, thank you very much. And sorry if sound a little bit down because now it's midnight here, but yeah.
Wahab, I hope that this conversation has provided you with some inspiration. And I know as a fellow startup innovator, giving you either some assurances that you're on the right path or giving you that boldness to be able to say, no, I'm discarding that advice. I'm going to go do what I want to do. But to close us out, if you could just share with us what the next challenges that you think you will be facing with other stakeholders in the real world as you hit the rest of your growth milestones.
Well, I think like Islam said about being agile and we're building a startup to pivot eventually. And it's just like the market's changing every day and we have certain assumptions about products that might work. But at the end of the day, we try to build MVPs and try and see how the world will react to it. And then we take actions based on the results. But my ultimate goal and our co-founders' ultimate goal for Amanleek is to claim that space, that empty space. No one, like if you think about property insurance in America, you'd buy from Lemonade, you'd go to Lemonade. But when you think about insurance here in Egypt, there is not one place. The market is very fragmented. So we just want to be the go-to place to buy insurance in Egypt.
That is wonderful. Well, I think we've come to the end of this particular sandbox experience, and I, for one, found it inspirational as I go back to my desk to work with my team for the solutions that we build. But just as a wrap up, here are some things if you haven't gleaned from this with our stakeholders. Africa is a market that is poised for amazing growth. Satisfying customer demand with clever innovation is about creating a bridge from our usual analog life and the physical ecosystem, and the requirements to build solutions that will allow each African to have the democracy of choice for where they want to spend their money and what they want to buy. Life is precious. Insurance is important. Making it accessible and affordable is obviously, it's a no-brainer. But what the future represents for this space, I think it might turn out to be one of the biggest areas of data innovation. Data on any one individual African is so spotty and thin. When it comes to health and life, we don't even have enough DNA information to tell us what is going on with us or what is likely to happen. If we don't collect data, and if groups like Amanleek don't keep on pushing the envelope as it relates to protecting life and limb and ensuring that the ecosystem for business is supported with guarantees, we will miss out on what is obviously a multi-trillion market. But it also means that there will be slower development of innovation in other areas like the medical field or the health field. InsurTech is important to Africa because using AI to model out policy expectations is how we will make ourselves economically efficient. We need to be able to do disaster recovery modeling. Can't do that if you don't know what disasters happened, how long they took, and how much they cost, and how much it means to replace. Africa is a place where the idea of maintenance will become an industry all in and of itself at this point. But I'm really glad to have spent time listening and learning from all of you. Mohab, I wish you the very best of luck. I would like to see you as one of the biggies out there. I really hope that the solution you're building will have great, robust portability built into it. I would like to be able to see us as a trading zone with no barriers where you can leave from one place and take your health insurance with you, insure your car in another place, and make sure that you have life insurance and key man insurance for your companies. This is an exciting space. It's very young, but I suspect that by the time we're done, it will look like what it's supposed to look like for us and not another emulation of the Western world that we usually use as an overlay in order to look attractive and global. No, I often say this ain't your granddaddy's Africa, and I think insurance is going to save us all if we can do it in a way that supports growth in all the other systems and processes and industries of our continent. I want to thank Islam for being with us, and I'd love to catch up with you after this. Farid, it was wonderful. I look forward to speaking with you. Mohab, I'm going to watch that space. I imagine that there's great success ahead for you. Thanking Sam for having been with us, and Andrew and Ashley, Sienna, Severin, Leyland, and the team that sits down to think about how can we bring everybody into the same space to have a conversation. I thank you all because we're making a lot of change. I wish everybody a great day. Thank you to everybody who joined us in the sandbox. Keep watching this space. We'll be bringing you more important and interesting conversations soon. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and don't forget to stay free from the COVID.
Thank you.